the only goddess who could weave your fate and decide if you'd survive childbirth. One thread for life, one thread for death, and she alone chose which to cut. This is Mokosh, the most powerful goddess you've never heard of. She controlled the earth beneath your feet, the children in your womb, and the very thread of your existence. And for centuries, Slavic women prayed to her every Friday, hoping she would be merciful. Mokosh was the supreme goddess of the ancient Slavic pantheon. Her name possibly derives from mokri, meaning wet or moist, the life-giving moisture that makes things grow. She was the goddess of fate, fertility, earth, women, weaving, and childbirth. But here is what makes her truly significant. Mokosh is the only female deity mentioned in the primary chronicle of 988 CE. She stood alongside Perun, the thunder god himself, in Prince Vladimir's pantheon in Kiev. This wasn't some minor folk spirit. This was a major deity, worshipped across all Slavic lands for over 1,000 years. But where did this powerful goddess come from? If you're fascinated by powerful female deities and forgotten mythology, you're in the right place. We explore gods and goddesses from every culture, from Slavic earth mothers to Celtic warrior queens. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss our deep dives into the divine feminine across world mythology. Now let's discover where Mokosh power truly came from. Mokosh origins trace back to prehistoric earth mother worship. Neolithic agricultural societies, the first farmers, worshipped a feminine fertility principle. The earth that fed them was sacred. And it was female. As Slavic culture developed, this ancient archetype became Mokosh. The core concept was simple but profound. Earth equals feminine, equals life-giving, equals sacred. She didn't just represent the earth, she was the earth. Moist Mother Earth wasn't just a title. It was her very essence. She controlled crop fertility, rain, and harvest success. Farmers prayed to her for abundant yields, knowing their survival depended on her blessing. In spring planting rituals, women would kiss the earth itself, asking Mokosh blessing for the seeds they planted. Now she's often compared to Demeter in Greek mythology, or Ceres in Roman tradition. But Mokosh was more. Because she didn't just control the fertility of crops, she controlled human fertility and fate itself. And this is where her power becomes truly terrifying. Mokosh controlled all aspects of fertility: crops, livestock, human reproduction, everything that grows, everything that lives, all under her domain. Slavic belief held that without her blessing, nothing could grow, nothing could be born. Women desperate for children prayed to her above all other deities. And here's why. Mokosh connection to water. Sacred springs and wells were considered her dwelling places. Water equals life equals Mokosh essence. Women would leave offerings at these springs, bread, cloth, flowers, hoping to gain her favor. But here's what made her terrifying, her dual nature. She could grant abundance or withhold it. Angering Mokosh meant barren fields, stillborn children, drought. She wasn't a gentle mother goddess. She was a force of nature itself, beautiful and terrible in equal measure. But her most terrifying power wasn't over crops or children. It was over fate itself. Mokosh's most feared power was weaving human fate. She sat at a cosmic loom, spinning the thread of every single life. And this wasn't just metaphor. To the ancient Slavs, this was literal. Your life was a thread in her hands. A strong, golden thread meant a long, prosperous life, health, wealth, children, respect. A weak, frayed thread meant illness, misfortune, and early death. And here's what made her truly terrifying. She could cut your thread at any moment. No prayer, no offering, no amount of devotion could change her mind once she decided your time was done. Now, she's often compared to the Greek Moirai, the three fates, or the Norse Norns. But there's a crucial difference. Mokosh worked alone. Well, mostly alone. Some traditions say she had two helpers, Dolia and Nedalia. Dolia, fortune personified, spun golden threads of good fate. Nedalia, misfortune herself, spun dark threads of suffering and loss. And Mokosh decided which sister would spin your thread. Think about that for a moment. Your fate wasn't random, it wasn't chaos, it was woven with purpose and intention. Your life was part of a larger pattern, a cosmic tapestry that only she could see in its entirety, and she demanded respect for her sacred work. Friday was Mokosh sacred day, while male gods like Perun and Veles concerned themselves with war, cattle, and thunder. Mokosh domain was the home, the hearth, women's work, women's bodies, women's lives. She understood women's struggles because she was the feminine divine principle made manifest, and women prayed to her constantly, before weaving, before cooking, before childbirth, before marriage. Every significant moment in a woman's life invoked Mokosh's name. But here's what made her worship unique. It was collective, female-centered, communal. Women gathered at her sacred springs for rituals together. They shared knowledge of prayers, offerings, and protective magic. Older women taught younger women Mokosh ways, passing down centuries of accumulated wisdom. This created something powerful: female solidarity and mutual support in a patriarchal world. Mokosh protection covered everything from the mundane to the profound. Successful bread baking, Mokosh blessing. Surviving childbirth, Mokosh mercy. The belief was simple: a woman who honored Mokosh would be honored in return, and her protection was most crucial during pregnancy. Pregnancy meant 9 months of constant prayer to Mokosh. In the first trimester, a woman would visit her sacred spring at dawn, asking for protection. An offering of bread and cloth left at the water's edge, a contract with the divine. Throughout pregnancy, she would touch the earth daily, connecting directly to Mokosh essence. She wore protective amulets carved with Mokosh symbols, never removing them, even to sleep. As birth approached, the midwife would ritually cleanse the birth space. This wasn't just cleaning, this was creating sacred ground. Embroidered cloth with protective patterns was laid out, each stitch a spell, each pattern a prayer. Candles were lit, herbs burned, the boundary between worlds grew thin. Then the community gathered. Female relatives, neighbors, women who'd survived their own births. Their collective prayers added power, a chorus of voices calling to Mokosh. During labor, the midwife continuously invoked her name. Mokosh, moist Mother Earth, receive this child. Mokosh, weaver of fate, grant this woman strength. Mokosh, holder of life's thread, let it hold strong. The moment of birth was the moment of revelation. Had Mokosh woven a strong thread? Or had she already cut it? The baby's first cry was the answer. After birth, the placenta was buried in the earth, returned to Mokosh, completing the cycle. If mother and child survived, Thanksgiving offerings were made immediately. For the next 40 days, the new mother remained under Mokosh's special protection. She was confined to the home. Other women brought food and help. This was sacred time, vulnerable time, Mokosh time. But what happened when Mokosh was angered? Hands bleeding with no wound, crops failing for no reason, pregnancy after pregnancy ending in loss. These were the consequences of disrespecting Mokosh. The most common violation? Working with thread on Friday. The punishment was immediate and supernatural. Thread would tangle impossibly, knots appearing where none should exist. Needles would break in your hands, spindles would splinter, and sometimes your hands would bleed. But the long-term consequences were worse. Difficulty conceiving, miscarriages, stillbirths, crops failing, livestock sickening, prosperity vanishing, and the social consequences were devastating. The community would know you'd angered Mokosh. Other women would distance themselves. Your bad luck might spread. But here's what's important. Mokosh wasn't cruel. She demanded respect. Her work, weaving the fate of humanity, was sacred. Treating it casually was offensive. And redemption was possible. A woman could make amends through ritual. A public offering at the sacred spring, witnessed by the community. A period of penance, no weaving for an extended time. Mokosh forgiveness would be shown through successful pregnancy or abundant harvest. Interestingly, these beliefs enforced a mandatory rest day for overworked women. Friday became their day of respite, sanctified by divine command, and even after Christianity arrived, Mokosh refused to disappear. In the 10th and 11th centuries, Slavic lands were Christianized. The church attempted to erase the pagan gods. But Mokosh had a survival strategy. She became Saint Paraskiva Pietnitsa. Pietnitsa, Friday. Her sacred day preserved in the saint's very name. Women simply transferred their Mokosh worship to the saint. Same prayers, same offerings, same Friday taboos. The church officially condemned these superstitious practices, but they couldn't stop women from honoring their Friday saint. In rural villages, the old ways continued openly into the 20th century. Grandmothers who'd never heard the name Mokosh still refused to sew on Fridays, because their grandmothers had taught them, and their grandmothers before them. An unbroken chain of women, protecting each other across 1,000 years. This was Mokosh cultural victory. Her essence survived a millennium of Christianity, not through temples or priests, but through the hands of women who refused to forget. In the late 20th and early 21st centuries, something remarkable happened. Slavic paganism began to revive. The Rodnovy movement, meaning native faith, started reconstructing pre-Christian Slavic religion, and Mokosh became central to this revival, the most honored goddess. Today, thousands of practitioners across Russia, Ukraine, Poland, and the Czech Republic create altars to her, perform seasonal rituals, and honor the Friday taboo. For many modern women, Mokosh represents something powerful, feminine divinity with agency. She's not a virgin, not defined solely as mother. She's a complete woman with power over fate itself. This is cultural reclamation, Slavic people reconnecting with their pre-Christian heritage and rejecting the notion that their ancestors were primitive pagans. Modern practitioners weave with intention, honor Fridays as sacred rest days, visit natural springs, and leave biodegradable offerings. They're building community through online forums, local groups, and annual festivals, sharing knowledge about traditional practices. Even academics have taken notice, studying Mokosh cultural significance and recognizing her importance in understanding Slavic civilization. But Mokosh influence extends beyond religious revival. Mokosh represents something profound about Slavic culture. Unlike many patriarchal religions, the Slavs elevated a female deity to supreme importance. She wasn't subordinate to male gods, she was their equal or even superior. This reveals what Slavic societies valued. Women's work, weaving, childbirth, agriculture was seen as sacred. Not diminished as domestic or lesser, sacred. Today, Mokosh appeals to contemporary women seeking empowered spirituality. A goddess who controlled fate, demanded respect, and fiercely protected women. Her Earth Mother aspect resonates with ecological awareness. Mokosh reminds us that the earth is sacred, life-giving, and deserving of reverence. Modern Slavic artists draw on Mokosh imagery in literature, visual arts, and music, celebrating her legacy, and she represents something important. Proof of sophisticated pre-Christian Slavic civilization with complex theology and profound respect for feminine power. In a world still grappling with gender equality and environmental destruction, Mokosh ancient wisdom feels surprisingly relevant. So what can we learn from this ancient goddess today? First, fate is woven, not random. Our choices create patterns, but larger forces shape the loom we work upon. Second, women's work is sacred work, creating life, nurturing life, weaving the fabric of society. This is divine labor. Third, Earth is not a resource to exploit, it's our sacred mother. Mokosh reminds us, we come from Earth, and to Earth we return. Fourth, community and mutual support are survival necessities. Women gathering at Mokosh Springs represents timeless feminine solidarity. Fifth, some powers demand respect, not explanation. Mystery and reverence have a place alongside rationality. Here's the universal truth. Every culture needs myths that honor life-giving forces. Mokosh fulfilled that role magnificently for the Slavic peoples. And perhaps she still does. Mokosh still weaves. Every birth, every death, every thread of fate passing through her eternal loom. The Slavic people knew what we're only rediscovering. The earth is alive, fate is real, and the feminine divine holds power beyond our understanding. If you want to explore more forgotten goddesses and powerful female deities from world mythology, subscribe to our channel, and tell me in the comments, which goddess should we uncover next?